What's up, everybody? I'm Zain Dhanani, your host. Doing another Ball Mania draft today, just for fun. Um, Number 23, really excited. Got one person left to join the lobby, and then we can get going. Got my tool loaded, got my ranks, ADPs, everything loaded in here. I'm actually potentially just going to get rid of ranks because honestly don't need it with my tool. But for now, and I like to look at the ADPs actually, which is probably unique. I think most people like to look at their rankings. But for now, let's see how this all goes. I've had the first pick a lot actually, so this will be interesting to see where I get. Okay, so 11 is something that's a little bit new to me. Haven't spent as much time on this side of the board, the right side of the board versus the left side of the board. Um, so right now it looks like the pick that would end up being there when I actually draft is going to be Ashton Jeanty. I personally like James Cook better right now, given the reports that I talked about the other day, that he may see more of a pass catching role this season. So I would be very excited if I could get James Cook. I would like to get more of James Cook as time goes on right now. Because I think that he's actually really good value. I would rather take him than Jonathan Taylor. I would not put him over CMC, but again, CMC is just kind of like a bet on if he stays healthy or not, because he will crush regardless whenever he plays. And then these receivers all have kind of Amon-Ra doesn't have a question mark, but I just prefer to take a running back at this slot if I can. So we'll see how that all goes. If a receiver falls, it's not a bad thing either, because what ends up happening is you get in that running back cluster where you have the whole like swath of players. So I may end up in a spot where, hey, maybe I do end up with like Amon-Ra or something like that at 11. And then if I take Amon-Ra, I would be in a spot where I would still end up with that running back in round 2. So this is just me playing out my logic live for everybody else, but we'll see how the draft unfolds. JSN just went, so we're kind of thinking through our different strategies here. I'm going to actually look at my tool and see, like, when I take James Cook, who else do I usually take with him? In this draft, I took James Cook and Achane. In a different draft, let's see, I took James Cook and Saquon. Okay, and James Cook went, so now I'm going to probably end up taking Justin Jefferson, which I'm okay with. And I want to see who else I have Justin Jefferson with. I've taken Jefferson one time, and I took him with Kenneth Walker. So I'd like to potentially take a different mix of players with him in this next pick. We will see where it all ends up. So left with Jeanty and Omarion Hampton and Kenneth Walker. I think it's pretty easy to just take the ADP value here and take Ashton Jeanty, especially since I haven't really taken him other than one time. So this will be a unique combo for me. Jefferson and Jeanty. Yep. Which is great. That's exactly what I'm aiming for in the first couple of rounds, is to just have a completely unique combo altogether. Now we look at kind of like what is going to be available at the next section of the draft for me. And when I look at it, I'm seeing, Josh Allen, who I haven't taken yet, Lad McConkey, Malik Neighbors, who I'm still waiting on. I'm not really taking Neighbors at the moment because I do think that there's going to be a better buying opportunity once he is declared on the training camp pup, which I do expect him to do. If he goes on training camp pup, I think that a lot of people will be kind of letting him fall a little bit further. We see this all the time. Anytime we expect news to happen and then it actually does happen, a lot of times it's never really baked into the cost. So excited to potentially end up getting Malik Neighbors in round 4 later on in the drafting season. That is. So with this pick, let's see. The tool right now is probably telling me to take. Right now, it likes Chris Olave. That doesn't mean he'll be there. It thinks that he's potentially going to be there, though. Zay Flowers. Nobody seems to have a. Well, I could have a Week 17 stack with Brees Hall. Um, you can see like here, there's a little indicator. I could have something with Trey McBride. He just went. Um, Garrett Wilson is interesting. He has a Week 17 with Minnesota with Justin Jefferson, so that's also something of interest. I think just play it, play it safe, see what ends up happening here, and then make decisions later on those like game stacks and whatnot. There's no reason to force anything at the moment. You can see here that I've got Gene T would be with the Cardinals as the Week 17 game stack, and then Justin Jefferson would be with the Jets for the Week 17 game stack. And that Jets defense looked like Swiss cheese last year. We'll see if it ends up being the same way, but it would be a nice get to have a lot of players against that team. Coming up on my pick, it looks like ETN is still in the available right now. We're seeing T Higgins that's also available, and so it looks like I will probably end up with right now. I'm kind of looking at Javonte Williams actually as a decent pick here for my team. Pretty much at ADP, maybe one pick ahead. I'm not really leaning into this like quarterback situation early. I will take Josh Allen. I'll just eventually I will. I'm just waiting a little bit longer to take him. So avoided some bye week overlap there with all three of the players, which is great. Didn't have much Javonte. I like taking him. I think he's a good pick as well. As long as he's healthy, I think he's going to have mostly a bell cow role. There'll be some complimentary work from Jaden Blue, but not too significantly. Neighbors is a game stack. Again, I talked about how I don't really want to take Malik Neighbors. I do really like Garrett Wilson out of this wide receiver crew that I have here. So I am going to end up taking Garrett Wilson. He does have a Week 17 game stack with Justin Jefferson, so I've got that as an added benefit. But I do like him more than I like Tatton and the price on Malik Neighbors at the moment. There's obviously the opposite case where Malik Neighbors is healthy and the pup doesn't happen, and then the price on him shoots up a lot, which, if that happens, that's fine. I will buy up on some Malik Neighbors. But we'll end up seeing how that all goes. Thank you, Hartman, for telling me that I wasn't showing the draft this whole time. I've been narrating a draft without actually showing it. So I'm going to actually go through everything that just happened. So when it came to my pick at 11, there was Justin Jefferson, and that was past ADP. So I ended up taking Justin Jefferson there. Ashton Jeanty fell to me. I was talking about how I wanted James Cook at that pick 11 pick. Jeanty ended up falling to me at pick 14, which is roughly like 3 to 4 picks past ADP. So this was a unique combo for my team. Then coming back, I was kind of looking at this like T Higgins, Travis Etienne kind of pick section, and then Javonte Williams was like the next running back that was going to make it back to me. So I ended up taking that. And then I ended up taking Garrett Wilson above Malik Neighbors, who I'm still kind of waiting on to potentially fall when he goes through training camp pup, which I expect to have happen. And we know that what ends up happening is like people react to that news later on. So that's just catching you guys up. Again, a unique combo for me. I think this entire like board in general will be unique for me because I haven't really taken much of. I had taken Jefferson once, I had taken Gene T once, I had taken Javonte once, and I had probably taken 2 Garrett Wilsons. So we are going through the whole gamut here. When it comes back to my pick, the tool seems to like Christian Watson as a good pick for me in that section. I'm also interested in Bashal Tutin, wanting to be over on him for my exposures. I'm at 14% right now. That's probably like three or four drafts that I've ended up doing with Bashal Tutin. Um, so it's nice to have be overexposed to him right now. Christian Watson, I'm mixed on him right now. One of the thought processes I wrote an article about like the depth of target of players and how that impacts like what their fantasy ceilings are and things. And I'm just not certain where Christian Watson will end up fitting into that whole picture. It could be that Matthew Golden ends up taking more of that deep role, and then Christian Watson wouldn't work necessarily like short, but he'd work. Well, he's gone anyway. He wouldn't necessarily work short. He would work more like intermediate, but I don't really want the deep part of the game to come. Okay, Bashal Tune fell to me. That seems like an easy one for myself. So I am starting a little bit more running back heavy at the moment, which I, you know, don't like necessarily prefer to do. Don't really care, honestly, either way that it goes. But this is just how it's kind of ending up for me. So Bashal Tutin, I'm looking at receivers here between Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson. I don't really have a huge preference. It looks like I have a week 16 bring back with Carnell Tate with Ashton Jeanty, so I'm doing that. We'll continue going. Golden's price, I don't think it's bad. I just talked about the self back on camera. I took a quick had to close the door real quick. Let's see. So the queue is telling me Dak Prescott's not a bad pick. I'm, sometimes because of the team stack and everything like that, the tool will like a certain player. I'm not as interested in Dak. Okay, someone else took Dak anyway, so it doesn't matter. I think my targets here are probably going to end up being Kyler. Not for this specific pick, but eventually I'll probably end up taking Kyler. This might not be a bad situation to end up taking a guy like Quentin Johnson and Justin Herbert, like almost a double click on that. I need to see what the guy at the corner has. It looks like he did not take Ladd, so that would at least give me the opportunity to push someone around, especially since he has Jaden Daniels. But we'll see if QJ's gone, so that option is not on the table anymore. And it looks like the running backs are falling a little bit, and I'm not really a guy who likes to take like, hey, I'm just going to stack up as many running backs at the same time. But if that's what ends up happening, I like to let the board fall to me and just figure it out as we go on. I do think this team needs some more wide receiver support because I'm not like my personal opinions on Carnell Tate is that this team is going to struggle, especially at the beginning of the season, because just because of the offensive line and the new scheme and all sorts of different stuff like that. So I'm a little bit worried, but right now just kind of playing it by ear, seeing how things sound like they're trending, and they could obviously sign another guy that would help their offensive line look better. Might not be a bad time to take a double click on Tucker Kraft and Jaden Reed. And that's kind of what I'm thinking might be the right move for me. And then when I come back, what's the likelihood that my friend Kyler Murray will be available for me? 71% in round nine. That sounds great to me. And then I would hope to do more of like um, a Kyler plus Jordan Love situation, round 9 and 10. And people are fading certain games and stuff. I know that Green Bay ends up playing the Texans. You never know, man. You really don't know. You don't know how that game is going to end up going. All right, looks like I got sniped on that situation. I like Josh Downs of all these players above Mekhi Lemon, yes, though it is pretty late for Mekhi Lemon. I'm going to take Josh Downs. Kind of reached a little bit there for Josh Downs, but I do believe in what I've read, which is that his role will basically be like an every down player. So, who did the boom? All right. So when it comes back to me, I'm looking at the quarterbacks. So Kyler is clearly going to be one of my top targets when it comes back to me. Let's see. And then obviously, this is going to be tough because now that I don't have Jaden Reed, I probably won't get a double stack with Jordan Love, but sometimes that's not as important. So maybe it makes sense to, just thinking through it. I think I can probably still take Jordan Love with Kyler and just do it that way. But otherwise, I can do a 3 QB room with probably Cam Ward and Daniel Jones, which I'm not fully in love with. It looks like my chances of getting Daniel Jones, and you guys can't like read this print probably because it's really small, but is like 11% in round 13. And then, yeah, so in round 13, it would be 11%. So that's unlikely to end up happening for me. So I don't know. It's a little bit of a risk to end up in that situation. It's gonna be tough. I do like if one of these other quarterbacks falls to me, like a Patrick Mahomes is good because I do think that there's ways to like, I can backstack him. I can get Mahomes and I can get Travis Kelce later. When it comes all the way back around, and then I can also take Tyquan Thornton late. Well, Mahomes is gone, so every time I talk about something, the player just goes. I don't know if people are watching, but I'm using my own overlay tool. I created this. I fit all of the weights based on historical contests. I fit them for all the different tournament contests that are on this slate. So not Eliminator, but anything like a puppy or whatever. And the weights are different depending on the tournament. It all depends on like what your value might be for that specific tournament. So that's the tool that I'm using. I don't have it available to public or anything like that. It's just something that I made and is for me right now. Maybe eventually we'll get that out to the public. So Kyler is probably going to be the pick here, and I have to make that hard choice on whether Jordan Love makes sense for me or not. And right now, for some reason, the tool doesn't really want me to take Kyler, which is fine. I'm still going to do it. I don't always listen to what it says. All right, so I take Kyler here, and I'm kind of one of those people that really hates getting boxed out of my stacks too. So I might just take Jordan Love here and see how that all plays out. Well, the guy at the corner is just sitting here listening to me, basically. He should take Matthew Golden if he's going to do this. we'll see. And then I will probably do the double with Jacoby Myers, trying to see if there's anybody else like logically that makes sense for me. Um, yeah, I don't really see it. I kind of like Kenny Gainwell too. I haven't really taken him much, but I'm going to take Myers. Yeah, I think this is good value on Myers. Actually, he's been falling a lot, and I took him a decent amount like early, um, but I still think he's going to play a big role. Like, uh, I do like Parker Washington a lot. I think everyone kind of knows that based off my my tweets and everything. But at the same time, like I can't ignore the fact that um, my friend here, Jacoby Myers, is going to be playing a lot too. I don't think they're going to go as much 12 personnel or 13 personnel as most people think. And even so, I do think that they'll rotate who the two wide receivers are on the field whenever they do go 12 or 13 personnel. So I'm not as worried about it as maybe others are at the moment. Right. Let's see. Some opportunities to take quarterback. Cam Ward is a potential option for me at this next one. I would have to reach to take Daniel Jones, which is not something I like to do. So I could do that. I have a Cam Ward option, which I'm not like in love with. But I do have the week 16 bring back, and I have the week 15 with Josh Downs and Gene T. So that's kind of fun. So I'm going to put Cam Ward in the queue because I think that might end up being one of my picks. I do like Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt if he makes it back to me. There's Jaden Higgins. I do think he's a good pick too. I don't want to get too far behind the eight ball at running back, but I did take like three, kind of early enough to where I don't have to worry too much. And Jordan Mason's still here, and that's a good pick too. So I'm going to put him at the top. And I don't, every time I say somebody, it takes someone's taken, but to be fair, it is somebody that's up the top of my queue. Let's see. Do I want to do some sort of? There's other options. So I could do like a Rashid Shaheed, Sam Darnold situation, which I've done a decent amount whenever I've done some back stacks. But I think that doing like a Cam Ward. Let me see what I've done so far. Have I done Ward? I've done 0. Yeah, I have 0 Ward. So I think this is probably a good pick for me to just mix him in to the fold. So I'll do Ward. I don't really need to take him right now. I'll do Chris Rodriguez. What? I have nope. Sorry, I realized I had Bashal Tootin, so I'm not going to take Chris Rodriguez. This guy has 3 quarterbacks. That's what changed my mind. I didn't actually think about that like live. But yeah, he has 3 quarterbacks, so I wanted to avoid taking another one in that situation. And now I can take Cam Ward after he takes whoever he takes. And I didn't take Rodriguez because I didn't need him. Because I had Bashal Tootin, and I like had to play that all out in my head within like 3 seconds. So now I'm taking Cam Ward. So that's my second quarterback. Jumped ADP a little bit for that one. I'm going to add Daniel Jones to my queue just in case if he does end up falling. It seems like there's, again, an 11% chance that he's going to fall to me. Geno Smith could be my QB3 in round 15. There's a 78% chance that he'll fall to me. So there's options. There's always options. Other players that I'll probably be interested in when it comes back around, Kenyon Sadiq is another guy because he fits with my potential stack that would happen later. We can look into that. Jawan Jennings fits my team, being that wide receiver 2, 3, whatever for the Vikings. So it looks like those would be my picks. I'd probably put Daniel Jones first. Yeah, well, he's gone, so it doesn't matter. And my pick is 55. So the ADP is 50.8. It's unlikely that he makes it to me. The tool is telling me there's a 27% chance that Juwan Jennings makes it to me. So we'll see. Yeah, I'm gonna keep up the great work on the Twitter machine, man. Doing my best. I said this on the Dwayne McFarland podcast, but to be quite honest, like I'm not the best, fastest, like at all when it comes to reading. Um, and most people that you would talk to that don't know what I'm doing on Twitter would say like I'd be very surprised that Zain like can read all of that kind of stuff, um, or that Zain would read all of that stuff because Zain's not like historically a reader. But a lot of people only know that I don't read books, and I've always said this to people like, yeah, I don't read books that often, but I read articles a lot. I read sports. I like sports news. That's what I've always been interested in. So um, a little bit of a nuance when it comes to reading, but everybody has their flavor, and my flavor just happens to be football news. This is interesting. I'm going to take Juwan Jennings here as long as he's available, but there's also the option of taking Omar Cooper and then also taking Kenyon Sadiq. And I don't know, I don't think that I would do that, but that's kind of an interesting, like, hey, what if Jets are good? And we've seen it so many times where, like, there is a situation where this is tough, man. This is really tough. I think I'm going to take Jennings just because, like, I want to secure that double stack. But I think this guy's going to take Brenton Strange, and I think that's a good pick too. And then I can take Sadiq. Oh, he took Sadiq. Is he going to take Strange too? Leave me without tight ends? Okay, well, Strange is a good pick. Excited about that one. And it sucks to not take Omar Cooper because this is super late for a first round rookie, but I do want to make sure that I end up getting. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I was going to say I want to make sure that I end up getting enough tight ends, but I still like some of the tight ends that come later in this range that happens at my next pick. I'm actually a fan of a guy like Greg Dulcich or like Gunnar Helm. And he kind of fits my team a little bit too because I have Carnell Tate, so that'd be kind of like a team stack situation that I have. So I'm a little bit excited about that. And then there's some bring back opportunity. These are bring backs for players too. So I'm not like totally lost without taking. And I took Tucker Kraft early enough, and that guy can get you by. I've always been like more of a late round tight end guy anyway. So I think the fact that I'm sitting here right now and just in this draft, you guys are seeing me like contemplate like the strategies that I have in my head. And taking Omar Cooper, 16 picks past ADP, felt like the right move. Very late to take a running or to get a first round rookie wide receiver that late. I think getting that opportunity is unique, and I would like to take that opportunity when I get the opportunity to do it. And so let's see. Now I'm going to have Geno Smith queued up for myself. I'm going to need a tight end. I do like some of the late round running backs because I think less people know about all of the news that I've reported on some of these running backs than than you would really think. And so there's opportunities for guys like Marshawn Lloyd, George Holani, guys like that I think are still like viable picks later on. Just waiting for my opportunity, man. I want to strike hard at the right opportunities. So yeah, if Dalton Schultz makes it to me, that would be great. Be very happy about that. He did not. Great. Dulcich is still there. I actually like really don't like Kate Otten that much. I prefer Freiermuth to him. Just interesting that like different places rank Kate Otten higher, and I just don't see like the big upside there. Maybe if there was a situation where, um, you know, where uh, I think it would have to be a situation where you have like two receivers that get hurt, and even then, like you're talking about Ted Hurst and Tez like potentially stepping in and like being viable enough threats to take away from all this other stuff. So I am not like a huge fan. I got to remember that this guy has a quarterback, so I'm going to take Gunnar Helm before he does as his tight end 3. Push the quarterback around. I don't have to take a quarterback, but I like to take 3, especially since I took Kyler so late. And then we're going to be sitting here with this, like, clenching your cheeks on late round running backs, seeing what ends up happening. But I spent like decent draft capital on running backs, so I'm not as worried about it. Though I do think Brian Robinson's a pretty solid pick, and I haven't really taken him at all yet. But I'm going to end up taking Geno here, securing my 3rd quarterback. Get me through the Kyler and Cam Ward buys, and then if you happen to still be there, great. If you aren't, that's fine too. Am I taking shots on Katron? I have in the past. Actually, my exposure on Katron's pretty high because I did most of my drafts like the first 2 days that the contest opened, Ball Mania, and I wasn't as certain about like what the roles would be. And to be quite honest, like there isn't a full certainty anyway because the plans change as the season goes on, and Ja'Cory Crosby Merritt could easily be one of those guys who just like doesn't just doesn't like fall in favor with this new like OC or something, right? Like he missed some of OTAs. There's always a chance. I think that the coaching staff really wants him to end up being the guy. I do prefer him to Rachaad White. I don't think I'm not a big like. I don't think that Jaden Daniels is going to sit here and like check down to Rachaad White like so much that it's going to matter for fantasy. So I'd prefer to actually take Ja'Cory Crosby Merritt, which I know sounds boomer because like most of the time we're looking for a guy that has like receiving upside, stuff like that. But I'm kind of just leaning into like I think that Ja'Cory Crosby Merritt would be their touchdown guy for now. But that could easily end up being Katron Allen later in the season. Like if Ja'Cory Crosby Merritt gets hurt, do I think that Rachaad White would get all of the work? I don't. So I think there's options there. That's for sure. And I have Tucker Kraft, so this like merger of Kraft and Marshawn Lloyd, like you just get that team stack again. Like that's what I keep thinking about is how can I make this team have cohesion with all the different players that are on the team and bet on the same teams over and over again. And that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm hoping that I end up getting the opportunity to take Marshawn Lloyd. But there's a guy here who needs a running back as well. This guy's going to take Terrence Ferguson because he's just going to do that. Once he does, I'll take Marshawn Lloyd. Okay, well, I get the opportunity to take Ferguson, who has the same bye week as Tucker Kraft, which isn't the best option. Don't really see much else that I'm like that interested in at the moment. I do like Terrence Ferguson as an option for myself because all of the reports that I've seen is like he's going to operate as their wide receiver 3. I think that that's legit. They want him to do that. I'm happy about that. All right. That's my full team. I'm going to wait and just see what the tool actually ends up giving me in terms of a grade at the end because it does do that. I'm going to guess it's like I'll probably be like the 3rd best team in the pod or something like that. I don't think this is like my best team. I think the tight end group is, since I have Tucker Kraft, it's okay. Receivers, you start out like decently strong, but then Carnell Tate could start slow. I do like Downs a lot and Jacoby Myers. So I actually like this receiver room quite a bit. Running back room I like quite a bit too with these top three. And then these are some good like contingency like flyer types of guys. And the quarterback room is obviously kind of weak, but that can be carried by if the performance of the receivers are really strong, like if they mix and match the proper weeks, all that kind of stuff. So I think this is probably a top three team in the pod, but we'll see what the tool ends up saying at the end. And I'll just show you guys what it ends up doing. And then I will get off this stream. But yeah, now it's like, hey, if it was around 19, you got to take Ted Hurst. And I'm not really taking shots on Ted Hurst right now because I think that he's their wide receiver 5 almost, behind Tez Johnson. I don't think it's a guarantee that he's their wide receiver 4. So it gave me an A, and it actually gave me second in the pod, which is interesting. And it really liked my first 2 picks, which makes sense because they were past ADP, and then Carnell Tate was past ADP also, and these guys were too. I don't think it's an A team. I would probably put it right here. I don't know which team this is. Team 9. I'm going to look at it really quickly. Team 8 and Team 9 are the teams that it really likes. So it would be these two that it really likes. Got Justin Herbert. Looks like unstacked. Well, no, Trey Harris. And then they had Tyler Shuck with Jawan Johnson, and then they had Aaron Rodgers with Roman Wilson, which I think is just not great. But, they started off pretty strong with their 3 running backs, and then they got Ladd, Christian Watson, and Kai Lemon was extremely good value, and Pittman, Coker. So they're not like super weak at receiver. And then this team ended up getting the 3rd slot, which I think might actually be better than my team, with the Mark Andrews Lamar stack, and I kind of like that a lot. And then this 2 running back start with Ramondre being RB3 past ADP, and then they ended up getting another stack with Rashad Bateman as well. Yeah, I kind of like this team better than mine, but is what it is. Thank you guys for joining. Really appreciate it. If you guys ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at Dhanani Zain. You guys are more than welcome to DM me, ask me questions, anything like that. Thanks.